Chapter 181 to 183. Amon would have rather not come to the birthday party, but it was a good way to keep his relationship tight with the Big Mom pirates. But still, he might have thought this over if he knew sitting beside her would be so uncomfortable. Not because he was scared, but because of two other major problems. One, she was drilling buckets, and two, Hey, Amon, are you sure you don't want to talk about our marriage? Big Mom asked, barely controlling her drool and keeping her mind busy before they would call her to cut the cake. Fucking hag. Glancing at her while smiling, Amon shook his head. Absolutely. You are called Big Mom, after all. I always imagined you as a mother figure my whole life. How can I come to think about you in a romantic way? Mama? Big Mom laughed, hearing him. Although he just mother-zoned her, she could relate since she had her own mother figure. Big Mom hummed a little, thinking about another offer. 2 years ago, when Amon first came to hand over Lola to Big Mom welcomed him with wide arms. After accepting Lola and locking her up, Mama had a friendly spar with Amon, which ended in a draw. Surely Big Mom was strong, although probably the weakest among the old emperors, but still strong. Yet, the new emperor, Amon, had resulted their fight in a draw somehow. Amon was aware of what this would imply. If a 20-year-old young man can match her life's worth of training, it's only a question of time how much power he would gain when he is at his prime, which usually starts at the age of 40 in this world. Other than that, it also implied that he has good genes, and Big Mom, being her usual self, offered herself. The offer was this. Amon would impregnate her, and the child will stay with Big Mom. But if it's a twin, Amon can take one. Yet what did Amon do? Of course, he declined. He was horny, yes, but he wasn't horny enough to sought after Big fucking Mom. Oh, you never agree. Big Mom laughed her usual laugh, then used her other card. Then how about you take Smoothie? I am sure, although you two's children won't be as potentially strong as ours, they will still be a monster in the future. Amon again shook her head. No, I am not interested in marriage right now. You see, I already have a wife and a lover, so another person would be problematic. Not really. If he wanted, he could even make them accept a slave as their equal. Amon just had to say a word. Rather, taking Smoothie won't work. Big Mom won't let go of Smoothie, so the offer would be like this. You impregnate Smoothie and leave her behind. And although he could potentially change that after many negotiations, taking Smoothie in Skypia is nothing more than taking a ticking bomb with him. People at her level can't be brainwashed, and her personality isn't exploitable like Hancock or Robin, so making her fall in love is also out of the question. All in all, it's a bad deal. Fine. In the end, Big Mom had to use her final card. She parted her lips, but before the words left her lips, a shout came from ahead. Mama, it's time to cut the cake. Come here. The shout worked as it should, making Big Mom's mind go blank while she looked at the massive cake with a drooling mouth. I am coming. She stopped up from her chair and was about to run towards the cake before glancing at Amon. Amon, we will continue our talk later. Amon smiled back. As if I will wait. Hours later, while Big Mom was holding a large party, Amon approached the guy who had been leaning against the wall for the whole time, observing everything. Yo, Katakuri. Amon waved his hand, making Katakuri raise his head. Have a minute? Katakuri looked at him with his eyes focused, seeing the future immediately. He nodded. You can leave if you want to. I will tell Mama later. Ah, you saw the future, Amon said, a whistle leaving his lips. What a handy ability, huh? I wonder how it feels like to know what other people are gonna say. As Katakuri parted his lips, Amon continued. Now, don't say it's not as cool as people put it. That's not true, I can confirm it. It's not as cool as people put. Katakuri stopped midway, realizing what happened as his eyes widened. Before he could say anything more, Amon waves his hand. Anyway, bye. Amon's body brightened up as he vanished from Katakuri's sight, teleporting away. Katakuri looked at the spot where he was before, a frown appearing on his face. So this is what happens when two users of future sight clash. I didn't see the future where he teleported away. Fleeing away from the party, Amon teleported far from Whole Cake Island. He flew, and finally reached near Fishman Island. After halting in the air for a second, Amon then went to a nearby island where he kept one of his belongings. Bzzt. There is a branch of wingless Valkyrie here. Amon is currently going there. Subtly moving through the electromagnetic fields in the air, Amon arrived above the 10 stories building of his organization. It's handy having branches all over the world since they practically treat him as a king. Dropping down on the ground, Amon walked through the road, greeting his subordinates as they returned a salute. Then, slowly entering the estate, Amon met up with the man in charge of here. "Yo, Broom, I am back." Broom, a brown-haired, decently muscular man in his 40s, turned his head towards him, smiling as he chuckled. "Yo, boss, you gonna leave soon?" "Yup, I am going to leave right now even," Amon said, walking closer and handshaking with Broom. "All right, I will bring your bike," Broom said, standing up and walking away. Amon had come here to fetch off his bike that he didn't want to bring to Big Mom's birthday. Instead, he kept it here, close to Fishman Island since he needs to visit there now. For the past 2 years, Amon has been frequenting Fishman Island, trying to manipulate Shirahoshi, and other than a submarine-coated ship or swimsuit, the fastest way to reach there would be his bike that can operate underwater. As Broom returned riding the bike and stopping in front of Amon, he undid his seatbelt and stepped out of the bike, nodding to Amon. "Then, boss, I guess we will see each other later," Broom said, knowing Amon might come here again to keep his bike. After all, that's what he's been doing for the past 2 years. Yup. Otohime was heated, ordering her subjects to prepare the palace for the upcoming guest. A nicely decorated dining, good food, and some eye candy mermaids. She prepared everything else needed, knowing Amon would soon come. His last visit was 4 months ago, so Otohime wanted to make sure to serve him properly this time. "Hey, watch out!" Otohime jumped up and caught a merman from falling, who was fixing the decoration after riding the stairs. "Be careful next time, I won't always be there." The merman thanked her as she sighed, going back to help others. She was doing all this for Amon to show him her utmost respect. Not only did he save her life, but he is also training Shirahoshi to use her power properly. He is teaching her to not get too arrogant. She is prophesied to be an ancient weapon, but Amon said he doesn't want that. He said, "A girl as cute as she can't be regarded as a weapon. I will teach her how to use that power in a better way." Otohime always wanted to make a good relationship with humans, and although Amon wasn't really a human, considering his wings, he is still the first person to ally with Fishman Island. He was a person she respected a lot and wouldn't mind doing anything in exchange. Ding dong! Hearing the bell ring, her body jolted up as she ran towards the door. Zero Cyrus is a good bike. With the lids closed, it can easily travel through the sea. I surely find this way safer than wearing a diving suit, though I am still wearing one under my jacket right now. Getting closer to the Fishman Palace, protected by a large bubble, I streamed electricity and teleported inside, just outside the gate. Bzzzt. The guards flinched at first, grabbing their weapons, but recognizing the familiar bike, they drew their weapons back. As I clicked a button, causing the lids to open, they bowed while I stepped out of the bike. "Honorary guest, welcome back," one of the guards said in a very humble tone. "I suppose I should park the bike at the usual place?" Smiling, I nodded and handed him the keys to the bike, getting a nod in response. As the guard left, the other guard pressed the bell and bowed towards me. After not that long, the door opened as Otohime sprung from the other side of the door. "Mr. Amon, you're finally here!" Otohime immediately bowed, showing her respect as I laughed softly. It's been a while since my last visit. I was close by, so I thought why not meet with my student on the way? I chuckled, helping her raise her head. Speaking of her, where is Shira? Otohime quickly brought me inside, guiding me towards a sofa, as I sat with her opposite to me. Some maids arrived with tea and served us, a pleasant smile on their faces. Shira is in the study room, studying with her siblings, Otohime said. Would you like to meet her first? Or would you want some food first? I slowly shook my head at her question. Unfortunately, I had my lunch at Big Mom's place. I am full currently. Seeing her nod, I continued. Though I would love some alone time with the beautiful mermaid queen and let Shirahoshi finish her lesson. Otohime giggled hearing me, picking up her tea and taking a sip. Certainly, though, wouldn't it be best to talk about work with my husband? She asked. Or am I needed for something other than work, I chuckled softly, not declining her claim. Otohime has quite the way with her words. She has enough experience to notice what type of person I am. While I am sure she won't do anything intimate with me because of her loyalty to Neptune, she certainly doesn't mind flirting a little. But to be honest, it's about work. As much as I would like to spend time with you, it's about work. A request, I suppose. I was thinking of hiring Shyarli for a few days, if you don't mind, of course, I say, seeing her pause. Shyarli is an important power of Fishman Island. Her divination helps them a lot and allows them to look for the best possible choices in politics. Handing them to another person would be inconvenient, but honestly, they won't refuse me. Of course, as long as it's you, Amon, and I am sure Neptune will agree. But can I ask why you would need her? She asks, as I think of the answer. It's because of a certain girl in my crew. She has great observation hockey, so I was thinking if Charlie could teach her divination for a few days. I was talking about Isa. I have sensed that her observation hockey has reached a stage where she can even match me. Well, not entirely. Everyone's observation. Hockey is different, even if they share similarities. By now, Isa has reached a level close to Katakuri, yet she can't see the future, even when she tries her best. I only have one guess. That her observation isn't the type to work on seeing the immediate future. She is rather a type like Charlie who sees the far future. Without any way for me to teach her, I need to use Charlie instead. Hearing my reply, Otohime's expression became soft. Ah, it's that sweet girl Isa, isn't it? Of course, I will talk with Charlie personally. I am sure she would be happy to help, Otohime said, remembering her time in Skypiean a few years ago. After that, we talked some more, mostly about our life, and sometimes about our alliance. My alliance with Fishman Island has been of huge profit and would be more after Whitebeard dies, since I plan to declare it as my territory before Big Mom. Finally, as around an hour passed by, Otohime ended her talk with a giggle. Then if I must, we should go and meet Shira. You must be bored talking with an old lady like me. I chuckled and followed her as she stood up and started walking. Not at all. It's been a fun talk. With another giggle from her, we slowly walked, with me glancing around the castle. It's a good place. General Pav. Only Amon teaches without any boring and monotonous lines. Shirahoshi sighed. Honestly, she didn't like studying. It was fairly easy with her intelligence, but sitting in her butt for hours waiting for the teacher to finish the lecture, she always got bored. Sighing again, she stared as the teacher left, bowing. She has been homeschooled from birth, mostly because of her title as a princess, and partly because her parents didn't want the situation with Hody Jones to repeat itself. She was fairly aware, but it was still boring. At least she was free to leave the palace, meeting the people below. So she was grateful. I wonder when Amon is going to return. It's already been 4 months. Or did he stop seeing me? She shook her head excessively, not wanting the thought to linger in her mind. She was sure Amon enjoyed her presence, so she didn't want to think of the worst-case scenario. "He is my best friend. He won't leave me. Would he? Hey, Shira, let's go and play." Her youngest brother called her, making her look at his tiny figure with a smile. "Or would you wait until lunch?" Hearing him, she shook her head. She didn't want to wait. By play, the boy meant playing with sea kings. Food can wait. Giggling to herself, she opened her lips. "Let's go right now." But before she could continue more, someone entered the room with her mother, making her freeze. "Hey, Shira, surprise! Look who's here!" Looking over, as her mother finished her talk, seeing Amon waving at her, she felt her eyes widen and her smile grow as she jumped forward. "It's you, teacher!" She leapt, catching him by her huge hands, squishing him against her massive chest. From her mother's smile, she could tell this surprise was planned. Frankly, she didn't dislike it. Being pressed against the soft chest of the mermaid princess was certainly nice, but that wasn't important. Pushing her massive hands aside with his monstrous strength, Amon flew above her head and placed his hand on her head, patting it. "Shirahoshi, I asked you to not hug me like that. It's suffocating," he said sternly, only achieving a giggle from the princess. "Ha, I see you don't take your teacher seriously." "Teacher, you are too small for me to take seriously. Maybe when you do that giant transformation," she said, making Amon shake his head slowly with an amused smile. She is actually not scared. Pretty different from anime. Her anime counterpart was even scared of fucking Luffy. Amon thought in his mind. This Shirahoshi was a new Shirahoshi. None of her crybabiness was present. She was a confident and cheerful princess. While I am sure things can change when I really get serious, her fright isn't a necessity to manipulate her. And... "So, want to start our class already?" Amon asked, seeing her beam at him. "Yes, please," she giggled, rubbing his body against her cheeks. Floating a little behind as Amon looked at Shirahoshi playing with massive sea kings, he contemplated. This is boring. As much as he enjoyed the risk of being underwater wearing a diving suit, being Shirahoshi's babysitter was boring. The quickest route to stop babysitting her would be to brainwash her fish brain completely. Something he has tried before. Yes, although I did say my priority would be to recruit people first and brainwash them only if they reject me, Shirahoshi is a variable. Being one of the ancient weapons, I would rather brainwash her to be safe. Amon finished thinking, humming as he continued. But the brainwashing didn't work. Obviously, she is weak enough for my brainwashing to not fail, but it actually did. As for why it did, I have a few theories. One of the theories was about her ability to command sea kings. Honestly, that power was just an absolute level of Conqueror's haki, considering that in canon, Luffy was shown to order animals with his Conqueror's haki as well. And Amon has done something similar to, it's not far-fetched to say the power of Poseidon is just using her Conqueror's haki at an absolute level. So being a user of absolute Conqueror's haki, it's no wonder Shirahoshi's mind is immune to brainwashing. And as annoying as it was, Amon could do nothing, and he didn't care, since honestly, Shirahoshi is a child, and manipulating her isn't that hard. He can make her fall for him or do the cliché brother route like before. He has many ways to control her, and being her best friend was good enough for now. This was a weakness, the point that I can't brainwash Conqueror haki users. He was correct, but to be honest, by the time Amon's own Conqueror's haki gets super strong, this weakness would have long vanished. But honestly, not having Shirahoshi under full control mattered not. He already had Pluton on his hands from Alabasta, so Shirahoshi was rather a bonus than the main focus. She was useful, yes, but if she turned against him, he could one-shot her. "Hey, teacher!" Hearing her call, Amon looked at her with a fake smile. "Come, my new friends want to meet you." With a nod, Amon then floated towards her. It was a pain that he could not talk underwater. Maybe a new tech would do? Yes, He should work on it soon. "You're gonna leave already?" Shirahoshi asked in a slightly dejected voice. "Why not stay today? There are plenty of rooms in the palace, or you can stay with me," she asked, making me pat her head. It was midnight already, so I could see why she didn't want me to leave. I shook my head slightly. "Not today, honey. I have work to do, but I promise to come back later on and spend lots more time with you, all right?" After a short silence, Shirahoshi nodded reluctantly. "Umu, but promise to return soon. Don't make me wait 4 months again." She grabbed me by her massive hands and pressed me with her fingers. "Promise?" It was uncomfortable being in her grasp. She could almost bust my body if not for the fact I am too strong and she can't hurt my Logia body without haki. Seeing her raise her pinky towards my face, I raised my left hand and streamed electricity in my own pinky, making it large as it wrapped around her finger. And with my current control, I can keep the voltage to a minimum where Shira barely feels the electricity on her skin. "It's a promise," I added, smiling lightly. "I will come quicker and play with you all day, my tiny princess." Hearing her giggle, I also laughed as I then pushed her hands away. "Then I should be leaving soon. But before that, don't forget to keep making new fish friends, okay?" Hearing my words, she smiled sweetly. "Of course," she said, not realizing this is how her powers increase the most. "I will do as you say, huge teacher." In end, chuckling a little, I tried once more to brainwash her, but failing utterly. Not so long after, I decided to leave for now. Honestly, Shirahoshi is a hassle, but she is useful. I wouldn't have wasted so much time on a single person if they didn't have value. Riding the bike through the deep sea, I hummed on my next plan. 2 years have passed since I've been looking for Shiki, and finally there is a lead. Honestly, it's Shiki who gave out the lead since he has started to move from his base, his 20-year-old mission finally coming to a start. Without him making a move from his side, we couldn't have ever found his hiding place. I have to say, the man has a great level of stealth ability. "He is good at it, huh, Master?" Kiyu comments, making me chuckle. The sword's old man voice changed, rather picking up on a child's voice, still male though, saying he has been reborn, so acting like an old man would be dumb. "He is good, mostly because flying islands aren't that easy to keep track of. Even if we got leads before, going to that palace showed nothing, not even a hint that the island was there before," I continued. "Robin almost gave up. Luckily, Shiki started to frequent the outside world not long ago. He couldn't avoid the eyes of Valkyries all over the world. Meh, all this work to end at nothing. He would die at our hands soon enough, weak bastard," the sword says, making me shake my head. I won't say Shiki is weak, at least not in this world line. The movie Shiki may have been weak, but it might just have been plot armor. There are many changes in this world line than canon, even without me changing it. Shiki might be one of those variables. He might still be that monster who fought Roger on even ground. Honestly, I don't mind either way. It would be good training if he is a stronger version. But if he weak, meh. It would be an easier hunt, which should make up for everything. And other than that, he isn't my main focus. My main focus is the SIQ formula and the animals enhanced by it. The other focus is Shiki's fruit. Calling that float fruit would be dumb. I should rather call it domain fruit. After all, once the user touches something, that thing is under his full control. "Yo, Master, look out! Some Sea Kings are heading this way," the sword says, despite knowing I already noticed them. Turning my bike around, then connecting my brain with the controller of the vehicle, I made small missiles pop up from the side of the motorbike as they rushed towards the monsters, painting the blue sea in a hue of red. General Pav. Looking at Amon's eyes, squinting the journal on his hand, Robin kept smiling as she felt a strange sense of peace in her heart. She finally succeeded. She finally managed to do it. She has finally founded Shiki's base, studied the trajectory of his flying island, and calculated their next position for the next 6 months. Looking over as a smile formed on Amon's lips, Robin waited for him to compliment her, to kiss her and drag her to the bed or even bend her over right here. She didn't mind. She only wanted him to do something, anything to celebrate her achievement. As he raised his head, looking over to her face and reaching out his hand, she almost instinctively pushed her head forward as Amon placed his hand on top of her head and ruffled her hair. "Good girl. You did a good job. I was almost giving up, but you finally went and did it, huh, smart girl?" he complimented, bringing her closer to his chest and running his hands over her hair softly. There was no lust in his eyes, no arousement in his pants. All he did was compliment her of her work. Without wanting to, a small smile formed on her face. She raised her head and stole a kiss, enjoying the surprised look on his face. "I finally did it, Lucy. But you don't have to thank me. It's my job to do as you say, considering who I am." She lied. She enjoyed being complimented for her hard work, and hearing a simple thank you pleased her more than being on her back, her legs spread. Lightly kissing her head as he pushed her head back to his chest, he hummed a little. It's impossible for me to not thank you. You've been doing this project for more than 2 years, and you finally succeeded in it. It calls for a celebration." She smiled. She was happy. Her birthday passed exactly 10 days ago, and she worked hard through it. Amon wanted to force her to take that day as a break, but she was too close to reaching the climax. So she held on, despite missing her birthday, and now she was getting rewarded. Biting her ear lightly, as she gripped his shirt tightly, Amon's ears chirped in her ear. "Robin, let's go to the Blue Sea. I am all yours this week." Her eyes grew slightly as she raised her head to protest. He shouldn't be so carefree. He was a busy man, after all. Seeing his nose poke her own, she paused before her Lucy chuckled. "It's all right. What kind of brother would I be if I can't spare a week for my workaholic sister?" As he chuckled softly, filled the whole room, her own giggle joined soon enough. Such a loving brother she had. Honestly, this was mildly amusing and low-key funny. She has worked on something so wholeheartedly, spending 2 fucking years of her life on it. Yet she was happy with a few sweet words. Women are weird. He was right about it, and he won't change his mind. Walking through the corridor, standing outside another door, Amon stopped. Not that I hate it, to be honest. The easier she is, the happier I am to reward her. After all, if the rewards are as cheap as just hugging her softly and staring at the night sky, I have no reason to not be happy. Chuckling ever so softly, he then raised his hand and knocked on the door, waiting for the door to open. Hearing the footsteps growing louder as the door clicked from the other side, it opened and revealed a small girl rubbing her eyes. "Eh? Brother Amon? Why are you here so early in the morning?" The familiar voice of Otama asked, as Amon smiled, hiding his smirk. Otama was only here for one thing, to use her powers on powerful animals. What better places to exploit that, if not on the SIQ-enhanced monsters?